So I'm going to talk about expectations from the point of view of relationships of yourself and others, and also your expectations of money, because I think we need to deal with money. Most people want lots of it, and they expect it to give them something. And I think probably you're already running ahead of me with that. So if the expectations of ourselves, like for instance in my life it was to get it right because I felt so wrong as a child, you know, and that created, because then if I got it right, I believed that I would make my life okay. If I was right, I got it right, I did the right thing, my life would be all right. Was that true? No. It's a total lie. But it was built on top of the lie of me being wrong. And my belief about me being wrong. It caused me nothing but stress and strain. And my expectations from that were that if I do all these things right in your life, and I, you know, for instance, when I had little children, and my husband worked long hours. We've been married since, we've been together since we were 15, and we've been together all that time. So we have a very rich relationship, but it's a journey of learning in any relationship. And I believed in my mind wrongly, from a wrong foundation, that if I had the house perfectly clean, and I had the kids bathed and fed, and I had our beautiful tea all ready for when he walked in the door, I falsely believed, I didn't know it was a false belief, it was wrong then, that I would just make the ideal life, relationship with him and the kids. But what was I running from? On reflection, I was running from a place of tension, a place of fear, a foundational belief of getting it wrong. Even though this looked good, there was a lot of tension in it. And of course, my poor husband liked things right, but he's always very gentle about it. He's very neat and tidy, which is a real gift for me. He is a real gift for me, truly. I see it, and it's now. And he would walk in the door, and I remember this particular time, it's not about him, it's about me. He walked in the door after the expectations I put on myself to get it right, to have right relationships. This is an example. And he'd say, "Hi honey," and walk over and pick up the broom. And what would I say to myself? It's never good enough. It's never good enough. So my expectations would lead to what? Disappointments. Because I was operating from the wrong premises. And you'll understand that. Now it is entirely different in our relationship. I let him pick up the broom and I say, "Go for it, honey." Because I'm not wanting anything from him. I'm not wanting anything from the relationship. Because I have a sense of who I am now, a sense of contentment and fullness most of the time in me. So he's free to do whatever he wants to do. Nor am I performing. The performing seal. I didn't realise that was a performing seal then. You know, when you perform and you have all the... Some of you are too young. Years ago we used to have dinner parties. And what would we do? We'd work all day, getting the house spotless, having the best meal, and having it perfect when they arrived. It wasn't until, on reflection, I looked at that later on, that I realised, much later, that by doing that, I put pressure and expectations on others. And much later on in life, people said to me, "Oh look, I don't want to have people over for dinner anymore because I can't do what they do." But, you know, I realised you frighten them because they can't live up to your expectation. They don't want to come for dinner because you get it so right and it's so perfect. So this relates to other things in your life too, that they go, "Oh my gosh, I've got to have her over. How am I going to do that?" Do you understand what I'm saying? Just the way you operate from that having to get it right, perfectionist attitude, because usually you feel imperfect. that's just a little example. Moving on though. And so, what if I didn't get it right? I would feel what? Separated, alone, rejected, judged, all relating to previous memories. If you don't get it right with others, how do you feel? Separated and alone, don't you? And with money, what if money doesn't give you what you expect? Where would that leave you? Broke. Broke. And also, from what I have a sense of, is despair. Because you may have worked, like my father did, worked massive hours because he came from nothing and he wanted something, and that something would give him security, and that was money. He worked massive hours, and I had a great love for my dad. Had a stroke at 40. Then, of course, had to let down and really relax with a few beers, more than perhaps he should have on occasions. And it caused stress and tension in him and in the family. Now, did he want that? It was the last thing he wanted, because he was expecting money would make his life perfect, and he's insecure. Do you get what I'm saying? There was an expectation of money. So I just need to say this while I think of it, because I want to go through it in a moment. Money is there to serve us, not us to serve the source of what gives us money. Big difference. So are you a slave to money? Does money make you feel anxious when you don't have it? How do you feel around money? It's a really good question. A lot of Christians believe they shouldn't have any money or shouldn't have much money because you've got to give it all away. From my perspective and from what I've seen over the years is, we're given everything good is given to us. And in an abundance, it says in the Word of God, which I love. And it's to be used for us to have what we need and value, but then to share it with others. So if you've got a heap, share a heap. And you can help a lot of other people. Do you get that? It's only when, like my poor dad was owned by money, because it was based on the belief that money would give him what? Security, peace, acknowledgement. The sense he left school at the age of, I think grade 6. So he was a self-made man and a very talented man. So moving on, do you get that though? If you really get that, money is not bad, it's what we do with it and what it does to us. Simple. Just before we go into money and relationships, I just want to talk to you about and share with you expectations. You've already have a sense from what I've said that if you have expectations, like with myself trying to get it right, what did that lead me to? Expectations generally lead to disappointments. So don't set yourself up. And expectations also create pressure on others. They create pressure on you, and that creates tension. Is there any love in that? Does that create good relationships? And I'll talk about what I recommend you have instead of expectations right at the very end. But the needs, as you've probably guessed already, underlying the expectations is what I'm really interested in, because if you get to your foundational stone, what you're built up from, your life is built up from, and if that's in right order, your whole tree flourishes, your life flourishes. But if it's not, then you have problems. Beliefs, as you saw with me trying to get it right, was I have to get it right. I have to get it right. Because what if I didn't? And what if's a fabulous thing to use. What if I don't? When you're tense, what if I don't do this? How would I feel? What would I believe about myself? And I believed if I didn't get it right, I would be wrong. I felt as a child I was wrong to even be here. You know, I felt wrong all the time, bad. And that was because of the beginnings when I first was in my mum's womb, and that whole environment. Not that my mum and dad wanted that for me, it's just what I picked up, and it was their stuff. And they worked themselves so hard to make it all right for us kids. So look at the belief. That holds all your emotions together. And then then you make decisions out of that belief. Do you see how it goes? The emotions are there, then you look at those emotions and you ask, I always ask the divine counsellor, because it's so much easier, what am I believing in that? Expectations. What decisions did I make? Expectations that bring life. Now, the only expectations that I believe and I really want to stress this, the real expectations are when you have a right relationship to the one who's the source of truth and life and love. And you know that by listening to that voice, listening, for me, the Word of God, and acting out of it. And then you can expect that. Expect good things. Abraham had an expectant faith. That's good. He had an expectant faith in someone who was bigger than him, much bigger than him. Even though that expectant faith came from something he was told which seemed impossible. He was told he'd have a child through Sarah. And how's this, at the age of 100 she had a child? And she laughed. I love it that she laughed. Because she went through a whole lot of disillusionment before that. Because, hey, who has a child at 100? Right? But Abraham had an expectant faith because he had heard it. He was convicted in his heart. He was told something from what he was feeling was from God. Now, this is the danger. If people, in any relationship, whether it be with each other, with yourself, or with your Creator, if you really don't know your own voice and you really can't hear others, you more often than not can't really hear the truth from your Creator. You're disconnected. So I know that over the years, as I've worked with a lot of people in the healing ministry, that they have been given words and they have believed those words. They have taken things from the Bible and they've stood on them. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but I'm saying when you do that, but you also don't clean up the rest of your life, or you don't allow the wisdom to, if he doesn't answer that, there's a reason, because he wants more for you. And my daughter was dying. I couldn't understand why he wouldn't. I had an expectant faith. Why wasn't he answering? Why was everyone else experiencing healing? Anyone ever felt like that? You know why? But I continued to trust in faith until I knelt down and surrendered, and I felt this peace come over me. And now I look back and I see he wanted me healed more than my daughter, because I was still operating from a lot of tension. Does tension bring good health and well-being? So as I surrendered and this peace came, so my daughter healed very quickly. So it was a ripple effect. He wanted more. So if there's not an answer to something that you are believing and you have an expectant faith, then stop and ask, what's blocking? What is it about me that's blocking? Is it my belief? Is it how I'm acting? Show me. And spend some time being still and asking. If you don't spend time being still, you're skimming over life. You're not savouring the moment. You're not present to yourself. You're not mindful. You're not aware. Is there any real control on that? Are you pretty powerless in that? I think you are. I think I am anyway. I was. I love these words here, that in looking at the financial prosperity and the expectations you can have from the word, providing you don't make that as your foundation. You know how you hear those words, seek me first, and then I will add all these things to you? Says who? Wisdom, truth, love. And even if people don't believe in God, at least take on the word wisdom, truth or love and ask. Because these are the words I believe that are from wisdom. I walk in the ways of righteousness. Now there's the right way of being right. Righteousness means just simply the ways that you're seeing and you're hearing, and I believe a lot of them are through the New Testament. You know, when you walk in those ways, along those paths of justice, you'll be endowed with wealth. Those who love me and they'll be filling their treasures. They will be endowed with wealth, those who love me, and filled up with treasures. Now, people say, and people have said to me, well, I don't know, there's an awful lot of poor Christians around. They don't look like their treasures are filled up. They don't look like they're prospering much. But we can look into someone else's life and we don't know, what are they thinking? If you have a poverty mentality, you are believing, back to the beliefs again, from your childhood, that you are poor, that you don't deserve to receive anything. Are you going to get anything? If you believe that you don't deserve it or money's bad, are you going to receive it? So your belief can actually be blocking it. And if you don't acknowledge that, you don't know that it's even there. You just need to bring it to the light and say, what's the truth here? So a lot of people have poverty mentalities on their head level. They want money, it's going to prosper them, etc. But on a deeper level, they have a poverty mentality. So get clear about that. Because this is the beautiful thing. I love this bit here. It's just lovely. It says, it's our Creator's pleasure, God's pleasure in giving, and in God's pleasure in giving and in our pleasure in receiving, when they flow together, the two pleasures, it leads to a joyous harmony. Do you like that? So this I don't deserve stuff is stuck in many people's memory because they did something bad. They've judged themselves, hated themselves, separated themselves even from themselves, and don't believe they deserve something because they've done something that they shouldn't have done as a child. How can they receive if they're stuck in the dark? Prosperity and fulfillment. So that money can then benefit other people. And just looking back at this again, and I don't know, has any of you been through struggles and traumas or, I don't know, breakdowns or meltdowns or whatever? Yep. How many people? Yeah, well look, isn't that great? Look, you're in good company. The majority of us feel the same way, but in the world, you tend to hide that because it's not safe to share it, and people keep telling you what to do, and instead of just listening to you and being present and loving you in it, because that often gives you the ability to move on. So, but in those breakdowns, it's really a breakthrough, whether it be in finances or in relationships, for you to really become present and to the truth in you. So, who or what do you cling to? That's another question. What do you cling to? I know I used to cling to my boyfriend. And listen to all the songs on the radio. What do they talk about? Someone is going to be fulfilling me. You know, I'll come back. I'll be your everything. I've been listening to these words and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not sure that they're going to just hit a massive road bump here and fall flat on their face. And that expectation, what are they? Expectations will lead them to not only disappointment but despair, because you put your hope and trust and cling to someone before you can just allow yourself to become present, to cling to the presence of love and wisdom within you. And I know that just sounds like words, but it's true. It really is true. And that way, when you're there, it just comes to you effortlessly. Because when you give up wanting something, guess what you do? You get. If it's good for you, it comes to you. And the thing is, now I'm in such a different space to where I used to be. So much of what I wanted is coming to me, and it's nice. But you know what it is? It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. And it's passing. And it's constantly changing. It's in flux. Do you get that? So if you cling to it, you ultimately are going to end up in disappointment because you're expecting that thing to make you happy or whatever. Do you get that? If you know that, you go, no, I'm not going to cling to that. I'm going to cling to the one who created that person, that money, that job. Does that make sense? So through my trials and tribulations and breakdowns, just like you, I just said, I'm clinging. I have no idea where I'm going, but I'm clinging to your truth and your wisdom to show me the path. The next step, the next step, the next step. And slowly but slowly I learnt and I grew. And I learned about myself. I learned how to change myself and my ways, and my life began to change. As it says in Peace, Presence and Power, the book I've now published. So, and look, there's another promise. There's all these promises. So I know how so many people have come to me, have been disillusioned. And Paul says in Philippians, and my God will fully, not partially, maybe just a little bit, or a titchy bit. I want you to hear this word, fully, F-U-L-L-Y. Fully satisfy, and these two words, I hope you take home, every need of yours, according to whose riches? His riches. Now, I know that sounds like words, and I know people have heard that before, and it's not a reality in their life. So how come they're not receiving it? It goes back to, again, what are you really believing? Are you expecting it? Are you hoping for it? Or are you believing that you don't deserve it? Going back to the beliefs again. Fully satisfies every need. Now, other people here, there's many people here who had what I call, they've gone into a memory or gone into areas in their life where they're stuck or trapped. And in that space, as we've listened to their feelings and their beliefs, and they've held them to the light and listened to the truth, they've experienced that presence. And I often say to them now, is anything externally changed? And they say no. But I said, how do you feel? And they feel fully satisfied in that moment. And does that make it a safe foundation for you to go and flourish financially? To flourish in relationships? Doesn't it make a safe space? And another one, see if I will not open the windows of heaven for you and pour down for you an overflowing blessing. I used to say, yeah, well, it doesn't feel like it. Anyone else here feel like that sometimes? But I didn't realise that it was because of my past. And my past was still presenting itself in the present. And my beliefs were still stopping me from receiving the overflowing blessing. So, and it says here, make purses for yourself that do not wear out, an unfailing treasure in heaven where no thief can come. Now, I have to say to you, yeah. People say, yeah. Heard those words again. Heaven, where's heaven? It's here. I believe it's here now. To the extent that we become present to the presence. So I talk about the presence all the time. When people come into the light and the presence, when they experience the truth, everything, all the terrible feelings, all the terrible beliefs, all the fears just dissolve. And in the place of light, can you see? You can see clearly. You can understand. Understanding comes. And you can also receive. Okay. Moving on. Prosperity in relationships. Well, from my point of view, I don't know how you get on, but Can you love everyone? Do you love everyone? Well, you actually are invited to do that. But I find that I can't love everyone. I don't like any. In fact, I see people that I really struggle even being in the presence of. But I go back to the one who's the source of love. And you have to experience this to understand it, because I know I'm only talking here and it's the experience. But my experience with that was I had to go back to the source of love. Love me with all of your heart. There's a reason for that, because it's safe, it's secure, you feel rich, and somehow or other from that space, like a child, you'll be taken in the next step, and it will unfold if you just choose and make this decision to trust. Or with this particular person I couldn't stand, look, please experiment. Is there anyone in your life you can't stand? Or give you the irrits? There are people laughing, yeah, good. Or you're angry or whatever. All I do is say, please show me how you see them, and let your love flow through me. And this woman that I couldn't stand, it was for many years, I just knew it was my problem really. And I thought, I've got to change me. So I said that, I asked, please, next time I saw her, I looked at her and I just felt compassion. I saw her totally differently, and my heart was changed towards her. Does that mean I have to go and like her and play with her and have dinners with her? No, but it's a hell of a lot better being in that state with her. But then apart from that, what an experience. I can experiment on a lot of other people I might have trouble with. Anyone here like to experiment with anyone at home or anywhere else? Seriously, what would be stopping you from saying from the source of love? This is how you begin to prosper in relationships. One of the things, apart from learning a lot of skills and tools about listening. But this is about expectations. If we expect other people to fulfill our needs and to love us, do you think that's realistic or unrealistic? It's unrealistic expectations. Can you feel the pressure that puts on other people? Unrealistic expectations. Go back to the source. Take a few minutes each day, sitting and saying, fill me up. You're inside of me. I'm breathing. You're the breath of life. Fill me up. Why not do that first and give up the expectations you have on others? What do you reckon? Wouldn't it stop you getting disappointed? Let down? Betrayed? I don't know, wouldn't it? It did me anyway. And you know what else I find? I've got to tell you a secret. When I give up wanting or expecting them to love me and supply my needs, I find as I stand back and I go to the source of love, and I do what I've been instructed to do, and sit and just say, well, you love me so I can love you, I find when I step back from that person or those people, guess what? They come looking for me. And guess what? They want to hang around me. And guess what? They give me what I really wanted in the first place. But there are no strings attached. Do you get that? They can go and they can come. Is that freedom? Isn't that how you'd like to have a relationship? Isn't that how you would like to be loved? Now, I'm not talking about respect. You obviously need, when you're in damaging relationships, you need to deal with that appropriately. And the topic's not about that, how to deal with conflict. But you need to, I think the most loving thing in that case is to speak your truth in love. And be honest, but deal with your own feelings first before you go into that conflict situation, and deal with where you're at and get wisdom's perspective. And I have to tell you, just to encourage you, I had to feel wounded over and over and over and over and over and over again with disappointments with people when I had hoped, I had expected them to, I don't know, remember my birthday? Oh, that's a good one. No one remembered my birthday one year. And I said, what's going on? Like, am I that bad? Or, I'm being really honest up here, it's good. But I had to get real with myself and let go of the expectation they might do that, because I'd have a lot of time with them. And I let it go, and I said, you have to be my birthday gift. You have to be my birthday friend. And this is the same in everything. And you know what happened? I turned 70 this year, and I got so many cards, and so many people remembered my birthday, and not only this year, but other years. And so does it make me feel really happy and excited and so fulfilled? It's a pleasure. The cards come, and they get put away. But it's lovely, and I enjoy it. But I don't cling to it. I don't hang on it. I don't expect it. So let go of anyone that you're expecting to fulfill your needs. Oh, I was just thinking about and reflecting on, it's a big call for someone to lay their life down for you. Have you got anyone in your life that would lay their life down for you? That would allow themselves to be flogged or whipped for you? You're all looking at me going, you're joking.
I thought I did.
Yeah, you thought, there's a lady who said she thought she did, but again, and if you were clinging to that, that's the key, not to cling, stand back. And when you think about it, it's crazy. There is I know only one person that lived that was willing to die while I was still stuffing up. And still loved me. And it wasn't the end. Came back as a spirit of light and truth to help me in those places when I was alone and abandoned. So it's pretty hard to forgive people in relationships, but again, I'm saying this, and some of you have heard it over and over again. When people have been sexually abused and I've been working with them, they say, I want to forgive, I want to move through all the feelings and emotions, I want to move on, but I'm stuck. It might have been something else in your life. And I just simply said to the source of life and truth, what do I do? And I allow them to have my capacity to forgive. When you lack a capacity in a relationship, ask for the capacity, like I mentioned a moment ago. And that girl said, I said, you can have the capacity the Father gave the Son when he was being literally crucified and being treated like trash and abused. And she said yes. And with that, honestly, it was like a miracle. Within an instant, he just literally left all the abuse, all the shame, left her mind and her emotions and everything. And she felt light and free. The moment she said yes, that capacity came through her to that other person, and we committed that person to justice, the spirit of justice. So he didn't get away with it. I'm not too sure that I've probably said enough for you to go home with. Because sometimes you can just, listen, and after a while you go, right, my little brain's just switched off here. So the other thing before I finish is something that I read in this book that I wrote many years ago, which is in Peace, Presence and Power, is my 18-year-old son wrote this in a card. It was on Mother's Day, telling me how much he valued me, giving him space and having confidence and trusting in him. And he made many mistakes, but we just kept standing by him. Another gift for prospering relationships is to do that, so then you can find your relationships change. Isn't that beautiful? Do you give people space? Hey, a brilliant thing, just before I finish, the other day, the last month or so, anyone ever in the presence of people who throw wobblies? Hello, put your hand up. Yeah. And rant and rave, or do the opposite to what you want, whatever, and object and resist. Yes? Can I recommend something that works brilliantly so you can prosper in relationships? And then you also don't have expectations of them, is you just simply take a step back. You say nothing and you give them space. Just like my son said, thank you for the space that you give me. and walk away. And I find the people who are, particularly if they're not being very nice, usually come looking for me and say, actually I wasn't too nice a little while ago, sorry about that. But it gives them space to come back and do that. Another little tool. But just in closing, what can you have instead of expectations? And I want you to do this, just before we finish. Put expectations in your left hand. Just imagine the word expectations in your left hand. And in your right hand, put the word hope. Okay, now close your eyes. And I'm going to ask, and all I want you to do is hold them, and I want you to let go so you feel this. I ask you, Spirit of wisdom and truth, to show everyone what expectation feels like. Now feel and hold the word expectations. Feel it. Just let go and feel it, and let it go and see if it drops or it rises. Just let it go and feel whether it's heavy or light. Just feel it. Feel it. Because if you get in touch with this, what this word does when expectations are used incorrectly, then you will remember this because you're in touch with it. Okay. Is it heavy or light? Can you feel it? Is it heavy or light? Heavy. Most people are saying heavy. And in my hand it feels like a rock. Drop it. What you do with expectations, you let them go. I put them on the cross. I'm done with them. No more expectations, apart from the expectant faith we talked about before. And in your right hand, feel hope. This is good. Feel hope. Now I'm going to ask the Spirit of life and wisdom and truth to show you, and to breathe the breath of His Spirit in your right hand. What does hope feel like? What does it feel like? Just allow your hand to relax and hold hope in your right hand. Just feel it. And allow the Spirit of truth and light and love touch your hand. So, what does it feel like? Is it light or heavy?
It's like water.
Mine feels like fairy floss. Wind, water. So what you're given instead of is, remember, letting go of the expectations, and you take on hope. You can hope that as a result of what you do that people will appreciate it, but you no longer cling to that, because you'll end up in depression and disappointed. You don't cling to anything or anyone, because it's in constant, it's all atoms. Did you ever know? It's all atoms, and it's just changing all the time. Enjoy it. Learn from it. Let go of the expectations and take on hope. Let go of expectations. You can hope. Because if you remember you're a child in the universe, rather than having expectations of yourself, because you'll do it on others as well, and it's harsh, it's tense, and you feel like a failure if you don't live up to other people's expectations, and you beat yourself around, and all that does is separate yourself and from the source of love and truth and light. So if you hope and encourage yourself, and you're willing to learn from everything, what's good about this? What can I learn from this? Then it becomes very fruitful in your life. And you keep going back to the source of truth and light, chatting on the way through life. Wow. You know, when things happen around, I go, what do you reckon about that? How would you have me see that? And it stops me having expectations of anybody or anything. I would hope. And if they don't, they don't. Guess what? It's their life, their choice. But I'm fulfilled here in the presence of light. I just want to say thank you for listening. Go and experiment, because these are just words. Take one thing from this, one thing, and go home and experiment with those you don't like, those with expectations as against hope. Step back, give people space, and you'll be amazed how your relationships happen. And also allow money to come to you so you can use it for good, for yourself and for others. Remember, then you can use it rather than it using you and running you into the ground. So thank you for listening. It's been a pleasure, and I hope something in this will change your life for the better. So let's have an experience. Would you like to do that? You heard a lot of words. This experience is one where many of you that are listening here, and whether it's on a video or in this workshop, this seminar, I don't know what background you have. And I found I work with people who are atheists or all different backgrounds. But they say, I don't believe in God. I don't. And I said, that's okay. I just accept it. But I say to them, what about love? Oh yeah, I believe in love. What about truth? Oh yeah, truth's good. You know, or some people like justice. And I said, well, would it be okay if I invite the spirit of love and the spirit of truth or with justice to guide you now? Oh, that's okay. So if any of you in the audience are in that place, would you be willing to just allow the spirit of justice or truth or love guide you through this? Again, I invite you to be the observer. It's like stand back from yourself and look into your mind's eyes. I recommend you close your eyes because it stops the distractions. And as though it's a television screen. So just close your eyes and stand back. And this is really going to help you remove the blocks that are related to expectations, and so that you can really take on hope, because often we're a bit clogged up, like a drain that needs to be cleaned out. So I'm just going to ask the Divine Counsellor, the Spirit of Truth, as you observe your mind, to bring into your mind now the people that you have had expectations of. So don't do anything but observe, otherwise you take control. Observe. And as the people come into your mind, just acknowledge them. And as you keep looking at them and look into their eyes, I ask the Divine Counsellor, so that you can get unclogged, you can gain clarity, and your life can begin to really prosper. As a result of all the expectations you've had on these people, or perhaps they've had it on you, that are in your mind's eye, I'm going to ask the Divine Counsellor to show you, how has that made you feel? I'm going to ask him to show you the feelings. When you look at the people, look into their eyes, and as a result of the circumstances, relationship with them and you, how do you feel? How that made you feel about your worth and value? Just acknowledge it. Allow the feelings, allow the beliefs to come up. It's a very powerful meditation or exercise. Now look at them and tell them, as a result of my expectations on you, or yours on your expectations of me, I have been left feeling. Tell them how, look at the people as though they are present. This is extraordinary in changing relationships, but most of all setting you free. Look into their mind's eyes and tell them how you feel and what you've been left believing about your worth and value. Like I'm useless, it's my fault, I'm a failure, I'm nothing. They're the beliefs that people have sometimes. Acknowledge them and tell them. Now, as a result of that, many of you will have anger. And anger is neither right nor wrong, so I'm going to ask the Divine Counsellor to show you what you would like to express, how you'd like to express that anger at these people who've had unrealistic expectations on you. Look at them and under his guidance so that you can be unclogged and freed. This is just between you and your Creator, and it'll make a huge difference in you and your relationships. Tell them what you'd like to do to them as a result of their expectations on you. And I give you permission, and so does your Divine Counsellor. He'd rather have it up and out of you than in you, depressing you. Tell them when you want to give them a slap on the face, a kick in the shins, a hit on the head, or even worse. Be honest and get it out and up. I don't care if you want to do some pretty nasty things to them. It's better out of you than in you. Express it. Tell them. Some people want to kill people and murder them. I said, just tell them. And only under the guidance of the Divine Counsellor, for the good of all, if you need to express it in your mind's eye only, then express it. If you need to give them a kick in the shins, kick them in the shins. So you don't do it in reality. Just kick them, slap them, hit them if you need to. This is good because it makes space for something new. This is the way justice is done, because you get emptied from the past and you become victorious just like Jesus did. Wasn't fair, wasn't just, but he rose again. So will you. So now, as a result of expressing what you felt, what you thought, what you believed about yourself, second perspective is this. You've had your say. Under the guidance of wisdom and truth, and love. Look at those people. What would they say back to you? Look at them again now. It's amazing what happens when you empty. Just allow the Divine Counsellor, Spirit of Truth and Justice, to show you what would they say back to you. What do they look like now? Look at them and listen to their body language, their words. Be aware. It doesn't make it right, but just cleans it up. You're not carrying balls and chains into the future. So just be aware of what they're saying, what they look like. And allow it to happen. Notice if there's been a shift in how you feel about them as a result of their expectations on you, or vice versa. Just notice if there's been a shift, or if there's no shift, that's okay too. Or if you're stuck, that's why we're here after these seminars, to help you. Now, third perspective as we come to a close, I just want you to become present to the one who sees everything, who knows everything, and is about the business of restoration and bringing justice. Listen. I'm going to ask the Spirit of Truth to reveal to you as you observe if there's anything he wants to show you about these people or about yourself or the circumstances. So just allow. Notice as you listen, if there's a shift, if there's a change, or if you're stuck, at least you're conscious that you're stuck. Or if you're resistant to listening, then you know you're stuck and it's still trapped inside of you, and it can come up and out. And someone can help you with that if you wish. Okay, so I invite you back into the room, and for those watching the video, I wish you well, and I hope that you can use this three-way perspective exercise, meditation, often whenever you get tense, anxious, angry, or people have expectations on you, etc., so that you can just deal with it. So it comes up and it's out, and you don't get depressed, but you actually are able to move on and also bring healing to relationships and times. Thank you for listening.